Star Citizen Alpha 3.17 is now finally in first wave PTU. This adds concierge and RSI subscribers to the citizens that have access to this latest patch in testing. It is, however, a bit different from previous builds and patches, and this one is not for the faint of heart. It is very unstable. So Cloud Imperium Games' Jake Acapella said, "We're opening up Star Citizen Alpha 3.17 to Wave 1 testers. We want to note that the build we are rolling out is quite unstable and suffers from a variety of performance-related issues. We're going to put this one out regardless in an effort to capture and monitor needed data. In short, this build will not be for the faint of heart. We're also going to refrain from opening PTU feedback threads for this build, specifically because the feedback on this build would not be as valuable as something more stable. With all that said, for those still interested in jumping into the fray, it is very much appreciated. Our engineers in the UK will be monitoring closely once we open up to Wave 1, so your participation directly helps us resolve issues holding 3.17 back from hitting the live servers." So, as you can imagine, as they've said, this build is a little unstable, there's lots of known issues, and there's performance bugs and problems. So the main testing focus for this patch is general stability and back-end testings, so you don't need to leave feedback on anything except the ship positional desync, which is also a major focus. So in 3.17.0, Cloud Imperium have put a networking update in that should reduce ship-to-ship desync. They would like to know how well this update works and if there are any observable knock-ons relative to 3.16. You should feel as though your direction you're facing and position of other players' ships are much more accurate and real-time. They've created a feedback thread in Spectrum for that specifically, so they want people to let them know if there are issues from ship jittering, rump vanding, other effects of that nature. So let's take a look at the actual patch notes for 3.17.0 PTU First Wave. They've added the Maria Pure of Heart Hospital in Lorville, where players can be healed and revived and purchase medical supplies. So hospital at Lorville. They've updated the space station clinics with new modules and layouts so that each space station clinic is unique. There's the initial implementation of river tech that enhances ecosystems on planets, and it's just one river on Microtech at the moment. It's got sort of additional harvestables by that river. You can hover on the river, you can walk in water now. We have the addition of a fully interactable coffee shop vendor at Area 18. The AI will interact with new usables, including a hot drink dispenser, soft drink dispenser, and drinks fridge to serve the player with a variety of new drinks. Go and say hello. Ship-to-ship refueling's here, implementing the systems that will allow players flying specific ships to refuel other ships and get paid for it. The player can fill those specific ships' fuel tanks from a station with the newly updated rearm, restock, and refuel interface. The Starfarer has 6 external fuel pods, and each pod can be fueled with one type of fuel, and then you can choose that to be hydrogen or quantum. To refuel someone else, you can deploy your fuel arm and then have a ship requesting to dock with you, and then they can receive fuel using a mixture of the Mobiglass Vehicle Services app and the consoles on the Starfarer to pump fuel across. I've just released a guide on refueling and exactly how to do it on my channel, so go check that out. There is expanded selling, giving players the ability to sell items from their local inventory to shops using a new interface powered by building blocks. This supports the recent added loot generation feature, allowing these items to be sold for money. This includes kiosk and service support for sale of non-commodities. The shops will dictate which items they will buy based on the type of weapons or armor that they sell. The pricing algorithm takes into account the state of the item, price of the closest retail equivalent, etc. This update also brings in a wide sweeping change to what each weapon and armor shop actually sells. Many higher end items have been removed from weapon and armor shops and can now only be found out in the persistent universe through looting corpses and exploring locations for loot crates. As part of this, they've also separated low orbit stations and landing zones to each have their own inventories, and they've greatly increased landing zone storage. Carryable storage containers have also been added to shops in the persistent universe, which you can put other items in and then take them around, so makes looting a lot easier. There's been a major overhaul of the ship's personal inventory storage to allow for ship components to be stored and transported inside ships. The increased capacity of landing zone storage has been upped from 100 SU to 1000 SU, and they've added inventory size values to all purchasable ships items along with volume and dimensions, which will require certain ship sizes to transport larger size components that wouldn't normally fit inside the smaller ships. updated all ships to have a more internal storage to accommodate this change, and they've also added inventory filters for components. Mining gadgets are tools that have been added to help modify a rock's properties and assist players with mining deposits. You can buy a variety of different mining tools from the appropriate shops in Star Citizen, ones that sort of modify rock's resistance or overcharge rate, instability, stuff like that, or shattered damage. And you can attach these gadgets onto a mineable whilst you're outside of your ship or vehicle, and then you have to jostle around with the signal wave on the device, and then you can return to your ship and mine and get the benefits from that. You can also then pick up the mining gadget after you finish mining the rock, as long as you didn't blow the rock up. There's some additional vehicle updates as well. Ground vehicle signature emission changes. They've adjusted ground vehicle signature emissions so that they are more difficult to detect at higher ranges. So it's harder to see vehicles, which I welcome as a change. You want to buff up ground vehicles quite a lot at the moment. You want them to be quite hard to detect, hard to fight from a ship's point of view. Well, not that hard to fight, but hard to detect at the very least, so you have to be relatively close and not be able to just annihilate them from mega distance. There's been a shield face balance pass. They've converted heavy fighter and larger ships with size 2 shields to have front-back shield faces instead of bubble shields, so 2 faces. That's interesting. There's been a ship weapons polish pass that has increased stagger fire thresholds to include all weapons up to 750 RPM to allow the option to be stagger fired. They've added a keybind option to request ATC landing and takeoff. That's unbound by default, but you can go into the options menu and go, you know what? I want just a hotkey for ATC landing and takeoff. Fantastic. Super good. We needed that several years ago. There's a GPU particle performance pass. They've converted the Xi'an Scout and Aopoa Nox thruster particles to render through GPU instead of CPU. For characters, there's a DNA head texture update. Art updates for head archetypes that greatly improve the quality of all DNA heads, both for players and common NPCs. This update brings additional archetype heads, while also updating base textures, wrinkle maps, and irises for the original heads. So better looking faces! There's a player injury polish pass, overhauling the injury system to increase the likelihood of injuries occurring during repeated combat encounters and decrease the chance of instant death. There's now a scaling percentage of triggering early injuries when taking damage to a body part. This is assessed each time the body part receives additional wear or damage and has a short cooldown between triggers to help prevent it occurring too frequently. They've increased the decay rate of hunger and thirst values. I don't believe it's too invasive, but you will notice hunger and thirst values being increased quicker. There has been a FPS weaponry factor with ongoing updates to make procedural animations more natural for holding FPS weapons. They've adjusted weapon sway and recoil values across a wide range of rifles, SMDs, shotguns, and sniper rifles. Many bug fixes were made too, and I'll go over some of the highlights sort of more generally. Repairing and restocking not working. There's been loads of fixes to that. Ship storage and spawning, quantum drives being too fiddly or not working, and not being able to set destinations. There are various elevator fixes. You shouldn't be able to insta-death someone by shooting them. There's been various medical fixes as well, and things with medbeds and respawning. Inventory delay and desync issues have been addressed. There have been lots of environment fixes preventing you falling through the world or getting stuck in certain locations, as well as giving atmosphere and pressure to areas that didn't previously had it but should have. There's been various fixes to the lore system, so you should find that slightly less stressful, and there's been many more minor fixes too. However, this build is reasonably unstable, and there are a lot of known issues besides that. So let's go through some of these known issues. All doorways in Orison can kill players, especially if repeatedly walked through. That's not ideal. Don't spawn there. Equipment can disappear when trying to equip and is permanently lost sometimes. Custom mobiGlas casings break the mobiGlas functionality. Don't buy them. The player is unable to place the mining gadget on a mineable rock. Large hangars are missing collisions. Starfarer boom arm not repairing if destroyed. So that means you basically need to reclaim the ship. When loading in the persistent universe as to customizing your character, the player may become stuck in a staging area. Character customization is saved inconsistently, sometimes falling back to a miscellaneous male head. Turret HUDs, aiming elements are lagging behind. Shubin Interstellar Kiosk in New Babbage is still using the old shop UI. Players cannot buy components directly into ship storage, and this will be coming later in the PTU cycle. The sell page at live fire weapons does not update properly. ASOP terminals can be accessed by other players while in use by another player. Also, sometimes when you spawn a ship, it doesn't show a ship marker and the designated hangar is empty. Cave interiors on planets with breathable atmospheres do not have an atmosphere, which will cause the player to die from suffocation. The underwater river fog effect is missing. AR markers are present when opening the Moby glass, which can make it hard to read. Ships can explode after a player exits them. Again, not ideal. Players sometimes don't leave corpses, and you respawn with your pre-death loadout, and medical gown also equipped. The player can sometimes see an infinite black screen upon death as well. So that is a lot of pretty rough known issues, in addition to instability, sort of server and crash instability, and performance issues. So yeah, 3.17.1 first wave PTU is in. It's available, but it's in quite a limited state. Expect Cloud Imperium to be rapidly trying to fix those known issues and get everything in much more of a playable state for next week. For a lot of people, this is going to be relatively unplayable at the moment, but those playing are helping Cloud Imperium get sort of data on fixing a load of these issues. In the meantime, those of you with access can still go check out the new content, but be aware that it's very much early testing, and there should be some more content coming to this patch a little bit later in the PTU cycle as well. But we'll be able to talk about it. We'll be able to talk about the patch now, and we'll be able to attempt to go to places and see the rivers and mess around with some bits, even if it's a bit broken. But what do you think? Are you playing in Alpha 3.17 First Wave PTU? What have you liked? What have you enjoyed? Is it super buggy for you? Do you prefer Cloud Imperium to put out a buggy build earlier, or would you prefer them to hold on to it, wait a little bit longer, and get something out that's more tangible gameplay-wise and less stressful? Whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. I am French and sophisticated. I am also French and also sophisticated. Let us go on a date. Neither of these people are French or sophisticated. It was me doing a funny voice, as well as showing the horrors of dating online and what happens if you accidentally catfish yourself with 2 of your own accounts. But French people don't talk like that even. No one does. NordVPN can make you appear to be in France, but it doesn't make you French, as I've now found out. It can be used to improve security or give you more accessibility to the internet. I can watch all my favourite shows. Get yourself NordVPN today in the links below and maybe be a better version of yourself. Now that's shilling for you. Every month we have a Star Citizen ship giveaway, and March is no different. We have a Crusader Industries Mercury Star Runner. This multi-crew, multi-role, cargo and data running ship is my favourite ship in the game. It has loads of little smuggling holes. It's got a good amount of armament. It can do a little bit of everything in the game at the moment. To be in for a chance of winning it, just comment on any of my videos made during March. More details in the description below. Please consider liking, subscribing, and potentially even clicking that join button under my videos to help further support the channel. Share the videos around with your friends and family. You'll occasionally get exclusive videos, posts, and polls that help influence the channel, along with emotes and badges to show your support. It really does help. There's also a Patreon and direct donations tool for those inclined. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you have a great March 2022!